General Hospital spoilers for the next 3 weeks, June 16th to July 4th, show that there will be some fireworks for new couples, and Drew Kane may discover that he is still going down. Cody Bell will also play a dangerous Ava Jerome game, so let's go over all of the potential dangers. The week of June 16th to 20th will provide a pleasant surprise for Lulu Spencer, which could involve Dante Falconeri and Harrison Chase reconciling after a term in prison. That may give Lulu hope that she may be able to repair her relationship with Dante sooner rather than later. Deep down, Lulu will always love Dante. Therefore, she may decide she must make amends. However, Lulu will wind up enjoying drinks with Isaiah Gannon in the interim. The program appears to be testing Isaiah with numerous love interest alternatives, so could Lulu be an option for him? Of course, Isaiah would have been with Jordan Ashford if he had his way, but she ended things because of her Jen Sidwell plot. Will Jordan have any regrets after opening up to Anna Devane? Regardless, Jordan has been spending a lot of time with Curtis Ashford, who is on the outs with Portia Robinson. As Curtis continues to drive Portia away, he may have the opportunity to reconnect with Jordan on a deeper level. Across town, Sonny Corinthos will question Sidwell, while Michael Corinthos deals with his family's problems. Michael and Sasha Gilmore Corbin are about to have a heart-to-heart, which could lead to Michael playing a more active part in Daisy Gilmore Corinthos' life. Willow Tate will have to make a decision and publicize it. Will Willow leave Drew if it means getting access to her children? During the week of June 23rd to 27th, there may be some unexpected revelations about what really happened in court. Judge Eva Heron appears to have been bullied into finding in Michael's favor, but who went to such lengths to secure the victory? Whether it was Tracy Quartermain or someone else, Michael might be in for a huge mess if he gets any details on what happened. Speaking of messes, Jocelyn Jacks will have to deal with some of them courtesy to Emma Scorpio Drake, but she may become closer to Vaughn in the process. Vaughn and Jocelyn appear to be ready to blend business and pleasure, so we'll see if it results in a genuine relationship or simply some sizzling in the heat of the moment. Since the 4th of July is approaching, some sizzling should take place between June 30th and July 4th. That could provide an opportunity for some new GH pairings to get things going with some pyrotechnics. Emma and Giovanni Gio Palmieri may heat things up, but how will he react to her seduction of Professor Henry Hank Dalton? We can't forget Cody Bell's attempt to seduce Ava, especially now that he works for Christina Corinthos Davis. Ava appears to be intrigued by Cody, therefore it is possible that she will succumb to temptation soon. The question is whether Cody's ploy will continue, or if he will develop genuine feelings for Ava along the road. Regardless, Cody will be playing with fire. You can guarantee Ava will discover Christina arranged everything down the line, which may lead to her releasing her wrath on both Christina and Cody. Drew will still go down eventually. Drew's nasty side will inevitably resurface, particularly after the judge's blackmail scandal is revealed. That's the kind of thing that could push spiteful Drew over the line, but he'll still face his own personal consequences at some point. The constant hum of Port Charles's undercurrents, a tapestry made of whispered secrets and startling revelations, promised another week of unrivaled drama. The air, dense with unspoken desires and seething resentments, was ripe for the dramatic alchemy that only a place like General Hospital could generate, as the old order broke down and new constellations of love and conflict began to emerge. This week, the fireworks weren't just for the holidays. They were prepared to go off between unexpected people, as one continued his inevitable decline and another performed a risky dance. The most exciting of these emergent themes entailed a delicate dance of new pairings, especially in the aftermath of Willow Tate's critical decision. Her decision to withdraw from the bitter custody battle, to favor her children's well-being over her own injured ego, and Drew Kane's increasingly desperate pushing, marked a significant turnaround. It wasn't a surrender, but an act of self-preservation and mother love, a quiet rejection of the dramatic expectations that had dominated her life for far too long. This mature shift, however, created a vacuum. Drew, whose manipulative influence had caused much of her previous strife, would definitely feel the pain of rejection, not just of his legal strategy, but also of his mere presence in her life as her major confidant and companion. Willow's newfound clarity, resulting from the painful discovery of how far she had deviated from her actual self, may open her up to connections based on genuine support and understanding, rather than codependency or shared grief. Could this result in a startling détente, Perhaps a tentative friendship with Michael Corinthos? Without attorneys or agendas, their chat at the boathouse hinted at a lingering sensitivity, a realization of their common history and mutual grief. If they could fully co-parent for the first time in a long time, respecting each other's duties and creating a stable atmosphere for Wiley and Amelia, it would be a game-changer in their turbulent relationship. This would not be a romantic rekindling, not yet and possibly never, but rather a strong platonic partnership based on their shared love for their children. The fireworks here would be quiet eruptions of understanding, the breakdown of old resentments, and the formation of a new, healthier family unit, a novel thought in a place accustomed to mayhem. Consider the dramatic tension of Michael and Willow negotiating this new territory, continually tempted to return to old patterns of accusation, but persistently choosing peace. Their mutual acquaintances, especially Carly, would wait with bated breath, some dubious, others cautiously enthusiastic, knowing how easily the fragile truce could be broken. This modest settlement, while appearing unimportant to the casual observer, would be a watershed moment in their personal stories, compelling both Michael and Willow to develop beyond the constraints of their previous heartbreaks. Beyond Willow's orbit, Joe's heartbreaking earful about his adoption and the long-held mystery of his paternity promised to completely upend his world, as well as the possibility of profoundly dramatic new connections. A young man whose identity had just been exposed as a carefully crafted lie would definitely seek comfort and understanding. Whom would he turn to? Brooke Lynn, who was present throughout the overheard chat, took the brunt of his first fury and perplexity. However, their shared fragility could result in a deeper, more difficult bond. They are cousins, but the intensity of this moment has the potential to form a one-of-a-kind connection, a kinship founded on lie. But, more intriguing, who else would Gio gravitate toward? Perhaps someone who has experienced the sting of family secrets or betrayals. This mental upheaval may bring him to unexpected allies, perhaps a surprising romantic relationship. Could he connect with someone who is also lost and yearning for the truth? The fireworks here would be the furious fights when he confronts his family, demanding answers, as well as the soft sparks of new relationships emerging from the crucible of his anguish. His path of self-discovery, compelled by this catastrophic revelation, would provide fertile ground for exploring new dynamics, new confidants, and possibly even a developing romance that would serve as an anchor in his storm-tossed environment. The dramatic irony of Gio, a young man who had always appeared so grounded, being completely adrift, would be striking. His pursuit for information about his biological parents may become intertwined with other long-buried Port Charles mysteries, drawing him into the town's secret history. This new vulnerability would peel back layers of his character, revealing previously unknown intricacies, leaving him open to exciting new love and platonic connections that would test and change him. Then there was Elizabeth Weber, whose light bulb moment at the hospital, her intellectual success in diagnosing the seemingly intractable case, foreshadowed a broader awakening. This wasn't just about medicine, it was about her personal life. For far too long, Elizabeth had let her relationships to define her, frequently via the agony and drama they caused. Her moment of clarity, a reaffirmation of her competence and intuition, may motivate her to seek healthier, more rewarding relationships. Could this lead to a new, more balanced romantic interest for Elizabeth, one who values her intelligence and strength rather than her compassion or history? The fireworks for Elizabeth would be the steady burn of self-discovery, the peaceful revolution of pursuing her own path, which could lead her to a companion who complements, rather than complicates, her life. Perhaps a professional connection develops into something more, a shared desire for healing and knowledge that creates the framework for a long-term, respectful relationship, in stark contrast to her previous explosive relationships. This would be a quiet but dramatic display of fireworks, the interior glow of a lady finally finding her feet, exuding confidence and attracting a healthier dynamic to her orbit. The question then becomes, who in Port Charles or who has just arrived, can truly appreciate and value Elizabeth for her tremendous gifts and inner strength, rather than her prior entanglements? This shift in her self-perception may lead her to someone unexpected, a partner who challenges her in positive ways, encouraging growth and mutual respect, resulting in a quieter, but emotionally resonant, type of love fireworks. In direct contrast to these prospective new beginnings, The story guaranteed that Drew Kane's downward spiral would continue, spurred by his increasingly erratic behavior and poor judgment. His metamorphosis from a dignified, rather austere figure to an angry, politically ambitious manipulator has been startlingly rapid. His affair with Willow, the merciless custody battle against Michael, and his stunning willingness to ignore the Quartermain family heritage for personal benefit have alienated practically everyone who formerly supported him. The fact that the judge granted Michael full custody of Wiley and Amelia was a direct result of Drew's corrosive influence and Willow's rash obedience to his advice. This heartbreaking death for Willow will likely be perceived as a terrible failure by Drew, who encouraged her to fight. This defeat will have far-reaching consequences, not only for his already strained relationship with Willow, but also for his reputation in Port Charles. Drew's dark turn is about more than simply his romantic relationships. It's about a fundamental shift in his character, a plunge into a self-serving mentality reminiscent of the same people he once fought against. His political ambitions are likely to disintegrate under the weight of personal scandals. The insider trading incident, which he initially blamed for protecting Carly, could resurface with new, incriminating data, especially if his foes try to take advantage of his vulnerability. The fact that he was unexpectedly released early from Pentonville after Carly and Diane successfully challenged the judge's decision indicates a potential flaw in his legal standing that could be exploited. Someone may learn that his release was not as straightforward as it appeared, or that he used improper influence. His acts, such as threatening to desecrate Quartermain graves to spite Tracy, demonstrate a spiteful nature that would ultimately lead to his downfall. In Port Charles, public opinion is notoriously fickle, and it will decisively turn against him. His professional reputation and alliances will be shattered. Furthermore, the revelation of his role in manipulating Portia Robinson over Heather's test results, a secret Portia has desperately sought to keep hidden, could be the final nail in Drew's coffin. Portia's concern of facing criminal charges and losing her medical license if her tampering with evidence is discovered offers Drew significant leverage. However, secrets, particularly those involving such high stakes, rarely remain buried in Port Charles. If this is revealed, not only will Portia suffer severe penalties, but Drew would be portrayed as a blackmailing monster, further solidifying his pariah image. The collapse of his marriage to Willow, caused by her decision to favor her children, will leave him solitary, lacking the emotional anchor he may have unknowingly desired. His insistence on battling on proving himself right has become a toxic force driving away people who truly cared about him. The story implies a steady, painful deterioration of everything Drew previously valued: his family connections, his reputation, and perhaps his independence. His demise will be a slow, torturous descent, as the consequences of his poor decisions come home to roost. The audience will see the harsh consequences of his arrogance, a cautionary tale unfolding in real time, fulfilling the promise that his actions would lead to his certain demise. This is the heartbreaking story of a man tormented by his own demons, whose desperate attempts to regain control only drive him farther into the abyss, leaving a path of broken relationships and shattered trust in his wake. Finally, the most intriguing and potentially explosive development is Cody Bell's hazardous Ava game. Cody, a guy noted for his roguish charm and knack for playing the angles, appears to be engaging in a high-stakes manipulation of Ava Jerome Cassadine, a woman known for her cunning, instability, and remarkable ability to endure any betrayal. The phrase "dangerous Ava game" implies that Cody is more than just pursuing a love interest. He has a deeper, possibly malicious objective. What would Cody want from Ava? Is it purely financial, attempting to profit from her huge wealth or her connections to the criminal underworld? Or is it something more personal, a grudge stemming from Ava's turbulent background and her numerous enemies? Cody's background reveals that he is motivated by ambition, and occasionally by a desire for justice or personal gain. His prior attempts to become wealthy rapidly, sometimes by breaking the law, demonstrate a willingness to accept risks. However, Ava is not an easy target. She has a razor-sharp intelligence, a survivor's instinct, and a history of ruthless retaliation against those who offend her. Any game Cody plays with her would be like playing with fire, endangering not just his heart but also his life. The dangerous game could involve Cody seeking to discover one of Ava's numerous secrets, such as a hidden asset, a past crime, or a vulnerability she keeps tightly guarded. He could be trying to seize control of anything Ava values, such as her art gallery, influence, or even her connection with her daughter Avery. Consider Cody subtly probing, laying traps, and studying Ava's emotions while keeping a persona of charm and genuine curiosity. Ava, ever suspicious, would most likely be sensing his intentions, testing him, and possibly even turning the tables on him before he realizes he's been outmaneuvered. The dramatic tension would result from psychological warfare, a fight of wits between two extremely intelligent and equally self-serving persons. Who will outwit whom? Will Cody succumb to Ava's allure and develop genuine affections for her, undermining his initial plan? Or will Ava see through his schemes and use his own game against him, leaving him beaten and shattered in her wake? The stakes are really high. If Cody's intents are truly evil, the ramifications of his revelation will be serious. Ava has connections to powerful persons, both legitimate and illegitimate, who will not hesitate to safeguard her interests. A dangerous game with Ava could result in professional ruin, personal damage, or even a permanent departure from Port Charles. The image of a soap opera close-up shot, with bold lighting contrasts, deep shadows and highlights, wonderfully captures the intensity of the situation. Each veiled gaze and laden phrase would be magnified, exposing the subtle layers of duplicity and desire. Cody may assume he has the upper hand, but Ava has repeatedly demonstrated that she is a master manipulator who can convert any perceived weakness into a weapon. His strategy could include using another person as a pawn or exposing a weakness in Ava's protective shell around Avery. The slight glow effect around them could represent the hazardous attraction of their relationship, the magnetic pull of two people lured to the darkness, each attempting to conquer the other. This is more than just a romance. It's about power, control, and the thrill of the chase. The issue remains. Is Cody genuinely in charge? Or is he just a part in a bigger game planned by Ava? Or possibly by an invisible hand directing them both? The impending confrontation, the unavoidable moment when his true intentions are revealed or she unmasks him, promises to be one of the most explosive events of the week, with far-reaching consequences that could bring other characters, such as Sonny Corinthos, into the mix. The setting is set for a spectacular collision, demonstrating the peril of playing a dangerous game with a lady as formidable as Ava Jerome. The General Hospital spoilers for Monday, June 16th, suggest that Willow Tate will encounter a setback, while Carly Spencer shocks Jack Brennan. Giovanni Giopalmieri will also receive some disturbing news, so here's what JH fans may expect. Carly will showcase her amorous side at the Metro Court pool, while also delighting Brennan. The aroma of costly coffee and old money permeated the Metro Court's private executive lounge, which Carly Spencer considered her territory, a fortress she had built brick by brick despite all odds. Today, however, it is used as a battlefield. Her fingers tightened almost imperceptibly on the cool ceramic of her mug, a mute reminder of the excitement racing through her veins. She watched the entrance with a carefully neutral expression, revealing none of the coiled tension within. Carly was a lady forged in the fire. Her might was legendary in Port Charles, and her surprises were rarely mild. She had spent the last 24 hours methodically planning this confrontation, analyzing every possible angle and countermove from the man she was about to face. Brennan. The word alone drew up ideas of slick insincerity, hidden threats, and deceptive transactions. He was a serpent, a phony who had dared to believe he could outwit Carly Spencer or worse, endanger someone she cared about. The specifics of his latest manipulations remained hazy, but the core was clear. He was attempting to use information in order to control a situation that directly affected Carly's family, and by extension, her empire. She'd heard whispers, snippets of conversations, and a jittery atmosphere around Brennan's name that felt too familiar and frightening to ignore. Brennan entered the lounge, sending a tremor through the room, his customary smug confidence obvious. He recognized Carly right away, a flicker of astonishment on his lips, followed by a condescending smirk. He approached to her table with almost theatrical slowness, his eyes scrutinizing and calculating. He believed he had the upper hand, Carly reflected as she watched him approach. He believed he was untouchable. He was about to discover how incorrect he was. Carly, why am I experiencing this unexpected pleasure? He purred, his voice oozing with phony courtesy as he took the seat opposite her, uninvited. Carly's gaze remained steady and unyielding. Pleasure? You amuse me, Brennan. Let us not pretend. You understand why I asked you to meet. She leaned forward slightly, her voice lowering to a low, threatening level that demanded attention. I understand what you've been doing. And more significantly, I know who you've been doing it to. Brennan's chuckle faded, replaced by a gradual tightening of his expression. He was decent, Carly admitted internally, but not good enough. I run my own business, Carly. And I promise you it's completely legal. He acted casually, reaching for a sugar package and pulling it open with great slowness. Unless you are suggesting otherwise? Carly allowed a faint, almost undetectable smile to cross her lips, a predatory glint in her eyes. Oh, Brennan, I am not advocating anything. I am telling you. She then pushed a thin, unmarked manila envelope across the table. It slid softly, coming to a halt immediately in front of him. Brennan's eyes shifted from Carly's face to the envelope, a cautious interest replacing his swagger. He picked it up, his motion still under control, but a tiny trembling in his fingers indicated his rising anxiety. He opened it to find a collection of precisely organized financial records, bank statements, and encrypted chat logs rather than legal documents or menacing photos. These weren't just any records, they were a maze of illegal offshore accounts, sham organizations, and shady transactions all tied back to Brennan. More damningly, they revealed his attempts to manipulate the recent legal proceedings involving Drew and Michael, a scheme designed to financially cripple some assets while gaining control of others via a complex web of legal loopholes and insider trading that had not been fully exposed in court. The surprise wasn't a threat. It was a dossier meticulously compiled by Carly's own, extremely adept connections. Brennan's normally controlled expression paled significantly. His gaze flew across the pages, and his breath caught in his throat. He looked up, his gaze meeting Carly's, which was now free of all pretense. The smugness was gone, replaced by sheer shock, followed by a smoldering lethal wrath. What is this? He whispered, his voice hoarse. How did you get this? Carly only cocked an eyebrow, a silent acknowledgement of her vast reach. That is irrelevant. What's important, Brennan, is that this small bundle is currently on its way to numerous extremely interested parties. For example, take the SEC. There are a few more agencies that are concerned about money laundering and illicit influence in court procedures, especially when it involves a major hospital and prominent citizens. She sat back, crossed her arms, and exuded cool assurance. Unless, of course, you're prepared to back down. Completely. Permanently. Brennan slammed the envelope shut, his face distorted with rage. You cannot do this. This is blackmail. Carly shrugged, a nearly unnoticeable movement. Call it whatever you want. I call it protecting what's mine. Brennan, you went too far. You believed you could work in the shadows and manipulate strings without consequences. But you obviously underestimated me. And you clearly overestimated how far I would go to protect my family and people I care about. She stopped, allowing her words to sink in, letting the weight of his situation pound him. So here are your options. You vanish from Port Charles and any involvement in anything concerning my family or their interests. You terminate all relationships and liquidate any remaining problematic ventures. And this envelope, together with its devastating contents, vanishes. Alternatively, you stay, struggle, and lose everything. Your reputation, freedom, and future. Your choice. The silence stretched, thick with unspoken threats and the raw tension of a power struggle. Brennan stared at her, his jaw working, his eyes burning with frustrated rage. He knew she wasn't bluffing. Carly Spencer never bluffed when it came to her family. The surprise wasn't just the information. It was the sheer audacity, the swiftness, and the ironclad certainty with which she had cornered him. She had turned the tables with devastating precision, catching him completely off guard. He finally nodded, a barely perceptible dip of his head. His defeat was bitter, but undeniable. You win, Carly, he ground out, the words tasting like ash in his mouth. For now. Carly merely offered a cool, triumphant smile. It's not for now, Brennan. It's forever. Consider this your final warning. Cross me again, and you'll wish you'd never heard the name Carly Spencer." With that, she rose, leaving Brennan alone with his shattered bravado and the damning contents of the envelope. The battle was won, and Carly felt a familiar surge of satisfaction. One less threat to worry about, one less shadow lurking around her loved ones. Miles away, in a quieter, more personal battleground, Willow Tate navigated the treacherous landscape of her own recent decision. The morning had dawned with a fragile sense of peace, a quiet resolve that had settled over her after her conversation with Michael. She had chosen the path of least resistance, the path of peace for her children, a path that meant not fighting Michael's custody victory. It was a choice born of exhaustion, of profound love for Wiley and Amelia, and a growing realization that her previous all-or-nothing approach had been detrimental. She had text messaged Michael asking to talk, just the two of them, about the children. No lawyers, no drama. A small tentative step, but a monumental one for her. She sat now in her living room, clutching her phone, waiting for his reply, a nervous flutter in her stomach. She knew Drew would not be happy with her decision. He had been her staunchest ally, her fierce advocate, often echoing her own deepest resentments against Michael and Nina. He had urged her to fight, to appeal, to leave no stone unturned in her quest for sole custody. His conviction had been infectious, his anger a mirror to her own. But after her raw, honest conversation with Sasha, a different truth had begun to emerge, a softer, more pragmatic perspective that put the children's well-being above the desire for victory. She had acknowledged the valid points Sasha had made about Michael's commitment as a father, his stability, and the trauma of relentless conflict. Willow had a deep, visceral understanding of the damage that familial discord could inflict, having lived through it with harmony. She didn't want that for Wiley and Amelia. The silence of the apartment was broken by the gentle chime of her phone. It was Michael. Her heart gave a little lurch. He had agreed to meet. A small victory. She felt a surge of hope, a fragile bloom in the barren emotional landscape of the past few months. But just as she exhaled, a different message came in, one that immediately created a chilling sensation of dread. It was from Drew. "We need to talk. Now. About your sudden change of heart. I just heard something, Willow, and I can't believe you would even consider this." The message was terse, cold, and laced with an unmistakable undercurrent of anger. Her fragile peace shattered. This was her roadblock, and it was a formidable one. Drew wasn't just upset. He sounded betrayed. The very person who had championed her, fought for her, and stood by her side through the darkest days of her illness and the custody battle, was now poised to become her biggest obstacle. Willow felt a knot tighten in her stomach. She had known this would happen. She had anticipated his disapproval, his frustration. But the intensity of his message, the implied accusation, hit her harder than she expected. She loved Drew, or at least she thought she did. He had been her rock, her confidant, the one person who seemed to understand her pain and validate her anger. But now his unwavering support felt like a cage, his protective instincts turning into a suffocating demand for loyalty. She took a deep, shaky breath, trying to compose herself. She had to explain it to him, make him understand that this wasn't about him or about Michael, but about the children. This was about their future, their peace. A few minutes later, Drew arrived, his face a mask of furious disappointment. He didn't bother with pleasantries, walking straight into the living room, his eyes blazing. "What is this, Willow?" he demanded, his voice low and dangerous. "I heard you're backing down. That you're not going to appeal Michael's custody. Is that true?" Willow flinched, but she met his gaze squarely. "Yes, Drew. It's true. I've made a decision. For the kids." Drew scoffed, a harsh, dismissive sound. "For the kids? Or for Michael? Or for yourself, Willow, because you're tired of fighting? This isn't about what's best for them. It's about you throwing in the towel." His words were sharp.